Hi, this is Pat Broderick. 50 years in the comics industry. That's what I've done. You're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Nice. Post Yuletide.
Yes.
Tinge of sadness in there. Yeah. There you go, Whimper.
Oh, Phil shit.
Oh, Phil Tardy.
Hey, cheers, bitches.
You see the
last ep of 24, bitches.
Yep. See the David Lee Roth meme that's going around? I don't know if he actually wore this thing.
Oh, that he fucked all your grandmas?
Yeah, it's probably true.
It's probably true.
Yeah.
It's gross as fuck, too, but it's probably true.
Why, not a fan?
I mean, I'm not a fan of any part of it. I'm not a fan of David Lee Roth. I'm not a fan of the idea of all the grannies out there getting plowed. I'm not like
but they weren't grannies when he plowed them.
I understand that, but geriatric love is nothing I want to evoke in my mind ever.
But you see, no, you're imparting your bias. They weren't geriatric when he means that back in the day, I was the thing. And
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. It also shows how poor judgment women have when someone's famous.
Oh, see, I can't have it. I can't have you disparaging David Lee.
He's so corny, dude. He's like one of the corniest people on the planet.
Yeah, and he's one of the best frontmen that ever lived.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I mean, okay, let's relax with that. I mean, he's fine. I have nothing really against him. I'm just choking your chicken, but
Oy, what a start. Hey everybody, it's 11 o'clock comics, episode 962. And I am Vince B.
Hooey, you are Vince B. I am David A. Price.
This is true, and you better not let me touch you, because I'm the tetracide.
We'll hear your voice, though.
You're not the tetracide. You're Jason Wood, everybody, from the drone capital of the world. It's 11 o'clock comics, sponsored by cheapgraphicnovels.com.
CGN.
You got a lot of money left over from those Christmas cards that you quickly ripped open a couple days ago? Well, you know where to spend it, because cheapgraphicnovels.com can make that money go farther than anybody else. Why? Because they got the omnibus editions, they got the trade paperbacks, the OGN, the manga, all that stuff drastically reduced. Here's a little tip. If you've never purchase from cheapgraphicnovels.com, boy oh boy are you in luck, because what you're going to do is you're going to go there, buy something small, and you will receive an email confirmation saying thank you for ordering from cheapgraphicnovels.com. You're going to respond to that saying, you know what, my buddies at 11 o'clock comics told me about this place and it's great. Max is going to return free shipping on your next order. That's insane. So that's when you tank up and you don't have to pay for the shipping, which is only going to get more expensive. Free shipping is a big deal.
Woof.
Yes. And you know what? Cheapgraphicnovels.com also has specials.
They do.
They have many of them.
And they have a ton
almost
of
too
specials. Way. Which is a good thing. It's ridiculous. But some of the things that actually were released this week include some really entertaining stories, like The Dawn Runner from Dark Horse, collecting those 5 issues. And what surprised me is this is actually a hardcover, 30% off, $20.99. You've got the Ambassador's Library Edition, 30% off, $34.99, collects the 6-issue miniseries. Batman the Cult Deluxe Edition hardcover. I'll talk about this whenever it's available. This is 40% off, $23.99, collects that 4-issue miniseries, Batman the Cult, written by Jim Starlin, illustrated by Bernie Wrightson and Bill Ray. If you haven't, it is one of my all-time must-read Batman stories. Star Wars Darth Vader Black, White, and Red trade paperback, 30% off, $12.59, collects Darth Vader numbers 1 through 12, the first issue director's cut, and the Darth Vader annual number 1. And the big one that I was really happy to see, from the 90s, Deathstroke the Terminator by Marv Wolfman Omnibus Volume 1, 40% off, $74.99. Collects the first 2 years of this 1991 series, numbers 1 through 25, Deathstroke Annuals 1 and 2, The New Titans number 70, Superman number 68, and stories from Showcase 93, numbers 6 through 11.
It's a whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of stuff. Cheapgraphicnovels.com. Go there and load up.
Yes.
I'm drinking.
What you drinking?
It's been a week.
And it's on Thursday.
I have a trio. I have from Brooklyn Brewery something called Pulp Art Hazy IPA. And then I have also from Brooklyn Brewery Brooklyn Lager, which is great. And I'm starting it off with the one I wanted to try the most from New Trail, which is kind of local. They're from Williamsport, Pennsylvania. This is called New Trail Crisp Lager. And it is crisp. I'll give it that. It kind of sort of tastes a little like Yingling, but there's this weird back end. I don't even know how to define it. It tastes like a cracker.
Okay.
It's weird. I don't
like
mind.
A graham cracker?
No, like a kind of like a Ritz or something, like a weird. I can't even put it into word because I'm not a foodie. I don't assign words to taste, but it's just an odd little snapback at the end, it's not unpleasant. It's just different. But it's not bad. We'll see. Maybe my slope will rise after this. I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Brooklyn Brewery's always a sure bet.
You would have loved it, Vince, on my birthday. The wifey took me to a 12-course tasting menu.
Yeah. My son goes, "What's up with this?" I'm like, "That's how he is. Don't worry."
What do you mean? What's up with that? He's a cook. He's into the food. What does he mean?
No, but he's just like, Dad, the portions are so small. I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Oh my God!
But you get,
it's a tasting menu. You're so full by the end. You are stuffed.
Okay. Here's
I'm serious.
Here's a dish with a bean on it. Next.
No, it's not like that, dude. You're eating 12 courses, man. It's really filling. But anyway,
the point is, did you enjoy it?
It was magnificent.
There you go. That's all that matters. Don't worry about me.
That's right. Although I got clowned a little bit because the sommelier came over and they're like, "Oh, would you like some help picking out wine?" I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And it's a French restaurant, right? So she's like, what kind of wine are you into? And I said, well, we mainly drink Italian reds, not as much French reds. And she's like, oh, she starts naming like, she's like, I was a sommelier and she named an Italian restaurant before this. She's like, do you like this region or this? She's like naming all these like regions, and I'm looking at her like, no idea what you're talking about right now. I'm like, I can tell you the varietals we like. I do not know these places you're naming. She's like, oh, okay. She's like, all right, then let's start over. I'm like, yeah, let's do that, please. I was totally out of my element.
See, that kind of dialogue translates to dollar signs in my mind. When someone asks you what specific region of wine you want, it's like, that's going to cost me some money. So,
well, she was leafing through. I mean, the wine list at this place is probably 100 pages. It's like so she's leafing through the catalog, and I'm just taking note of the prices of each one that she's recommending. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, she's like, any of them speak to you? And I was like, yeah, the one. There was one I could remember that was like $300. I'm like, yeah, that one speaks to me. Let's try that one. Because, dude, there were wines on this list that were $35,000. Could you imagine just going to a dinner, like out of the restaurant, and being like, I'm gonna order a $35,000 bottle of wine? Like, what's the like? Like, what is that? Like, who? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. How good can it be? But anyway. I'm
saying that about the $300 bottle. So.
Oh no! That's totally reasonable. But I am drinking sugar-free Red Bull, and G0 combination of the two. So
nice. I'm translating $300 in my mind to omnibus editions at cheapgraphicnovels.com. You could probably get
Four.
No, let's say 3. You can probably get about 3.
I think they're 75 is the average. You can get the half off. They got the half off.
Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Max has got the half off sales a lot.
So, a bottle of wine or 4 omnibus editions. That's a tough choice for me.
Why not both?
No. No.
Markets are up
One
a
of
lot
the
this
three
year.
of us
It's a
could
good year.
say that. So.
Because
Good
my
year.
body will process the wine, but the omnibus editions will live forever on my shelf. I can touch them and fetish them. I don't have to fetish them because they're mine. I can pour over each beautiful page again and again and again. I've pissed out that wine years ago.
But I'll remember the experience though.
Only because it was with your wife.
Well, I don't know if I told you this because you were incommunicado for a week because you hate the holidays.
I do.
But the place that Beth took me for my birthday dinner is actually the first place I ever had a tasting menu way back in 1997.
Oh, look at you! It's pretty amazing. I'm getting misty.
It was nice. It was a nice little revisit. She had not ever been here, so it was fun for her to go because I went. It was a work thing back in that day. But yeah,
nice.
It
Now,
started it all.
bring us back to the land of the real people, please.
Because it paired extremely nicely with the big rigatoni I made for us yesterday.
And we're done.
The big Italian.
We're done.
Big Italian. I am enjoying a lovely glass of the Josh Legacy Red Blend.
Oh, a little Josh action.
You
Love
like
the
that
Josh.
stuff. Yeah.
I love the Josh. Yeah, I drink that a lot. It's good.
Nice.
I think Dap brought us some. That's what you brought us, right? When you came, I think you brought us some Josh. Didn't
If
you?
not this past time, I have in the past. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. There you go. Comics, people. Let's talk about them. That's why we're here.
Let's do it.
Drive the bus. Jason.
Well, I'm going to start off with a teeny tiny little comic, kind of like your soul or your heart, Vince, about the size of your heart.
Yeah.
In the Garden of Earthly Delights, a tea leaves caper by Rich Tommaso. This is such a delight, dude. Like everything about it is delightful. It's
This
a teeny.
I'm sorry. This was this made the CGN list last week.
Indeed, it did. Yes, but I didn't want to say anything because I had it. We didn't read. I hadn't read it yet.
Love it.
Okay. This is like I don't even know the size. It's basically a little bit larger than a postcard. It is essentially a mini comic sized thing. It's can fit in your back pocket. Teeny tiny little book. Almost like you're thinking, well, what's the point of this? Is it even worth it? But boy, oh boy, does Tommaso deserve credit for packing a hell of a fun story into this little pamphlet. Now, you might be saying, what the hell's a tea leaves caper? Well, this is, at least as I understand it, the first of what's to be many of a new series he's doing called the Tea Leaves Capers. And the Tea Leaves Capers are centered around a woman named Trina Catanzaro, and her. They imply they're lovers, although there's nothing like particularly overt about it. So then maybe they're just friends. I'm getting the lover vibe from it. But Trina and Dina, Trina and Dina are criminals. They have largely up to the point of this book been jewel thieves, but in this book they decide to pull an art theft caper. Trina is working at a very expensive art museum with tons and tons of classics, and she decides to come up with the caper of stealing the art, but it's somewhat of a revenge because their last jewel theft didn't go well, in that they got the jewels and then the fence blew it because when the fence went to sell the jewels, the buyer basically stole the jewels from them and didn't give them the money. So Trina and Dina and the middleman come up with this plan to steal art from the gallery that she works at, or the museum she works at, make reproductions of this art through a forger that they know, sell the dude that stole their jewel money the art, and basically rip him off for it, and then sell the real art to other buyers. So it's a very convoluted kind of caper, like the whole thing. They have to pull all the stuff off, and that's what this comic is about. Them trying to pull it off, things going wrong, them ultimately being triumphant at the end after, despite all of the things going wrong. And it was just a blast, man. And, we're all fans of Tommaso. The art in this, I think, by design, is a little bit simpler. It's just real simple lines. Like, it strikes me as something he just decided he wanted to do and do it pretty quickly and be able to bang these out anytime he's of the mind. But it was just so much fun, man. It's just a few colors. It's basically black and white with some red tones, some yellow tones. The only weird thing about it, and that's because I'm an old man now, is that when she's plotting, like in her head, about how all this is going to go, like the thought bubbles, he writes it in very light red text, and it's like pencil. So it's like red pencil you can barely see, which again, for my eyes, was a little bit tricky. I had to kind of hold it up to the light to read some of the dialogue. But beyond that, though, that's a minor nitpick for what was otherwise a super fun little heist book, with a couple characters that are, just you just root for them, even though they're ne'er-do-wells, and it's pretty clear based on the solicit and the the epilogue, that there are more of these tea leaves capers coming. So shout out to Rich Tommaso. This is published by Floating World Comics, and it was a real gem. It was great. I highly recommend it, and it won't set you back much. I think it's like $12. So
I like Tommaso a lot.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's so versatile. He really is really versatile, and this is a lot of fun.
But you know what never connected with me? The concept of the art forger. And I mean, we've seen these movies where, like, you get an engraver that can duplicate precisely the line work on a $100 bill, yeah, or someone who can reproduce a famous painting to the degree where those in the know can't really tell the difference. And I'm thinking, if these guys only, use their powers for good, like, why, if you can reproduce a Matisse, right, or a Picasso, why not take what what you've learned, or what you observe from their styles, do something on your own, and chances are really good that the art world will probably embrace you, and you'll make as much or more money, doing your own stuff than it is to do an illegal activity like reproducing a famous work of art. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. A forger. It seems like a soulless pursuit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm probably sure I told you guys the story, but I don't know if I ever told it on air. But when our chairman's, I've mentioned before in there, I know that when our chairman passed away, we had to participate in a very big art auction through Christie's, because he had all this art in his estate. And so I learned all about that process from kind of soup to nuts. It was really interesting. But the reason I mentioned it today is because one of the pieces in the collection was a Leger, who was a French modernist painter, for those that don't know. And it had been appraised in prior years, during one of the times the collection got appraised for insurance purposes, for $8 million. And during the appraisal process for the auction, it was actually shown to be a counterfeit. And our chairman had owned the thing for 30 years.
Wow.
Thinking it was real.
It's crazy.
So yeah, and keep in mind, one of the high-end, like, world-renowned art insurance companies insured it as real, a decade before. They thought it was real. So it was an incredible fake. And they actually brought in two other, like, when they thought it was counterfeit, they brought in two other consultants to also weigh in and that's how tough it was for them to, like, conclude that it was fake. So
good forger. But and again, it also it just baffles me that I'm guessing that the person actually doing the forging is not real high on the chain of profit for selling.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're probably making a decent amount of money, but the person that actually knows how to move it through those channels and actually get it sold, like, they're probably taking the lion's share of it. So the forger's not making all that much. So why do it? It's I don't know. Say it sells for $2 million. I'm guessing that the forger probably didn't make more than, like, I would be surprised, $100,000. You know what I mean? It's just
right. Yeah.
do your own stuff.
Yep.
Whatever.
But super fun. And the vibe of this is kind of like, and even the way the text is written in the cover art, like it's very much evocative of the whole Glass Onions vibe, you know,
nice.
I'm assuming that Tommaso is a fan of those movies, and it's like, I'm going to do a comic series that's kind of in that world, you know, that kind of same ethos, you know.
Cool. I'm going to have to get that. I did not pick that up yet.
It's a gem.
Well, full disclosure, I haven't read very much this week, just because it was a tough week. But
home emergencies.
Yeah, a lot of putting out fires. But I've been trying to scoop up all of the Vertigo crime books that I overlooked in the past, and this one especially because it's illustrated by someone whose art I love very much. This is called Noche Roja. It's written by Simon Oliver. Remember him from Exterminators?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yes. And it's illustrated by Jason Latour.
Yes.
I legit love Jason Latour's line.
Yeah.
I think I've said it, many times on this show. I think as an illustrator, I think he's unparalleled. He has a line like a fashion illustrator. It's a beautiful. It speaks volumes. The thicks and thins he manages to get out of it, and it's just wonderful to my eyes. This is not. This was published in, let's see. Oh my goodness, the type is so small. My eyes.
2011? No.
2010. 2010.
Right when we started the show, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. The crime line started in 2000. I'm sorry. Okay.
This is 2010. And while the artist that would eventually become Jason Latour, it's here, but it's hidden. The Vertigo crime books are published in black and white. Well, this, I don't know why Latour did it, but many of the panels have a black background. Whether they're interior or exterior shots, there's a lot of black. A lot of black in this. But that's not the worst part. He seemed to find it fitting to use a shit ton of dot screens. And I'm not saying like just an accent here or there that we've come to, the present day Latour uses dot screens sometimes, and he uses them to great effect. There are screens all over the friggin' place in this book, to the point where it is so dark and so murky that it's really hard to tell what's going on in this book. And I was like, man, I don't know why he did it. Maybe he was compensating for some perceived shortcoming in what he thought. I don't see it because, like, looking at, the panel composition is great. The drawing, figure drawing is not as accomplished as he would become with like Southern Bastards, but it's there. But man, it's hard to tell. Like to the point where there's so many screens used that the overlay, there's Mora on a lot of these pages, and it's like it's so impenetrable that I was like, I can't even read this whole thing. I got halfway through it. I'm like, this is a worthless pursuit. Like, I don't know why I'm reading this thing, because the art is so distracting. Because I'm trying to piece or pull something out of it, and inevitably my mind compares it to the Jason Latour that is, and this is obviously the Jason Latour that was, and there's a huge gulf between the two. I strongly cannot recommend this book. It hurts my heart because it's Latour. I think he's phenomenal, but this is not that. This is, and I don't even want to say training wheels Latour, because the artist is here. It's just obscured by this endless barrage of dot screens, and it's, oh God, it's nasty. It's not good. But the story is intriguing. It's about south of the border women that are the breadwinners because they find it easier to get jobs doing certain things, and there is they're being killed, mutilated, and dumped like trash, and a private detective is brought in to get to the root of it all, and it sounds really good on paper, but it's not good on paper. Obviously, it's just too dark, and yeah, no. So avoid Noche Roja. Sorry, I got nothing else.
I have fond memories of that line, though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Filthy Rich is freaking great. I think it started, the whole line started with Filthy Rich. Like, that one was a slam dunk. And there's a couple along the line that were really, really, the John Constantine one. Is that Filthy Rich? No. The John Constantine one.
No, that's Dark Entries, but that's Werther Dell'Edera. That was the first time I ever saw his work.
that one's probably my favorite. I like that a lot.
The artists on those were great, like you said. It was, maybe not in there. Victor Santos, like you said, Filthy Rich.
Yeah.
Victor Ibanez did one with Andy Diggle. I can't remember the name, but Chris Somney did one. Area 10, I think, which was awesome. Who else was in there? Like, there were some really good ones, man. Like, I'm trying to think. I owned them all. Wasn't Road to Perdition was one of them, right?
Yeah, but that was an after
The
fact.
Return to Perdition was.
The Return to Perdition. Right.
Yeah, the first one.
Right.
First one was its own thing.
I think there was a missed opportunity why Max Allan Collins and Beattie didn't bring Ms. Tree to Vertigo Crime. That would have been the shit.
Well, they were part of. DC did publish the series for a little while, but even before, but then
It's like they're thinking, like, why not?
Back for Vertigo Crime.
Yeah,
absolutely. Brian Hurt did one called Cowboys.
No, it's a really good line. It's just like I stopped 3/4 of the way through, so I'm trying to get them all back, or buy the ones I didn't buy the first time, and it's a very worthwhile series. Strong,
definitely,
very, very strong.
Definitely,
yeah.
That for those that don't remember, because if you're listening, that was a series of DC hardcover crime theory stories that were the editor was Brian Azzarello. He actually show ran the whole thing, which was
neat. And I love the format too. I think it's just the right size. It feels, even though it's a hardcover, it has the feel of a pulp novel, like a cheaply produced, and the paper leans into it. It's not the greatest paper in the world, but it's the perfect paper, because the pulps were never intended for any kind of longevity. They were cheaply produced. Read them, throw them away. Nobody ever foresaw that these books would somehow be beloved 50, 60 years down the line. Not only that, but collected. So I like the impermanence of them. That's why I have to laugh when pulp collectors are looking for high quality copies. How does that work? Like, what's a high quality pulp? This one only has a little bit of brown. So, yeah. But I love, and I'm trying to gear. I take great solace in reading stuff that was printed like 40 years ago. Old comics, old paperbacks, old pulpy magazines, and it just makes me feel good. That I like the effects of time on physical stuff. Like if the paper's starting to tan, or you got, the color starting to fade, like that's great to me. Give me more of that. I don't need something that looks like it was printed yesterday. I like to see entropy in action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because it's ridiculous to try and escape it, because it's going to get everybody and everything. So surrender to it. Embrace it.
You're right.
Yeah. 9.6. Amazing Spider-Man #1. Okay. Whatever. I'd rather a copy that was rolled up and put in somebody's, back pocket.
You would. That's true.
Yeah, but I'm sure I'm in a minority.
No, I think it's a mixed bag. Like, I think people listening to this range from loving slabs to wanting.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with slabs if that's your game.
No, I'm saying I'm thinking people. I'm just saying it runs the gamut. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep.
So, what you got, Dap? Wifey's home. What's up, wifey?
Yeah.
What up, girl? Call me.
One of the best new comics published today. The 3rd issue came out this week.
Oh, damn straight, son.
Dude.
Tetracide, baby. Let's go. Come on.
If right now I'm feeling like if I could only read one comic, I feel like it would have to be Absolute Wonder Woman.
Damn, respect.
This is just, I mean, the craft that both Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman, and to her credit also Jordi Belair, put into each issue so far. And every time you think, like, it's not a straightforward story where you can just like, hey, okay, it's good versus evil and she's here to save the day. But it's like every time there's our heroine is in imminent danger, and you think, well, how is she going to get out of this? We get a flashback that ties everything together. It is so incredibly well done. There's a moment, and I really the book. Well, actually today's the 26th, so there was. If the shops were closed yesterday, there was no new comic book day yesterday. So this is hours old. So I'm going to really try not to spoil much, but there is a scene here where Diana is absolutely trapped, and how is she going to get out of this? Because if it touches you, you're a goner, and how she gets out of it ties into how Steve was removed from hell, and it just I'm absolutely almost every page turn, and I end up with my jaw hitting the floor when I see what I'm looking at. It's absolutely amazing. We're introduced to Barbara Minerva, or introduced at least to absolute Barbara Minerva in this issue, and still, Diana is warning everybody that there is something very, very bad about to happen. Everybody has to leave. You have to evacuate. Run if you can. Get as far away from the shore as you can, because there's basically, the tetracide is a 4 killer. It kills you in 4 ways: death of fear, death of mind, death of body, death of soul. And everybody's like, well, death of fear doesn't sound so bad, and she explains what that means. And it will emit a sound that will draw people to it, and they will just succumb to this sound. But those who are, as everybody runs towards the tetracide, those that get trampled or crushed in the stampede, they're the ones, Diana says, that they're the ones that are going to be let off easy, because if you make it to the tetracide, it's not going to be good for you. And she magic plays a big part in this issue. The flashbacks to hell with Cersei are amazing. and even the little bit of the cliffhanger we get at the end, which again, that's a little bit of magic, but also modern, at least for here, technology is mingled, and we're past the halfway mark with this opening arc. This is part 3 of 5 of The Last Amazon, and yeah, it it hurts my heart a little bit that we've only gotten 3 issues this year, because I would love to just have so much to go on about when if the Outclaskers were our usual format prior to this year, there would probably be a few different categories that this book would fall under. But I haven't finalized my 10 yet, so I'm trying to be. I know where this is going to go, but I'm trying to also not neglect any books that were running a little bit longer than this to this point. But this was just an amazing issue. Every issue has been slightly better than the last, only because the creative team is just really bringing it. This may be my favorite. This is my favorite issue of the 3 so far, and still mops the floor with anything absolute in the line. Batman and well, especially Superman, but Batman and Superman are way distant second and third compared to this. Not that I want to do a compare and contrast, but I mean, Jordy has some colors, but Kelly and Hayden are just operating on a whole different level than everybody else. It's a fantastic issue. Looks amazing. The story knocked me on my ass, because I think it's zigging and Kelly zagging, and it's just it's a book that absolutely keeps you on your toes, and I am super thankful that they got together to create this book, and it makes me so happy to be a comic book fan. It's a great series, and this was just a great issue.
Look at that, bringing that energy. And can I just say ditto? Can I just say that and then call it like?
Yeah, absolutely can.
I mean, nah, dude, you're so right. I mean, I saw your post on Slack today. You were like something to the effect. I'm paraphrasing. You were like, "This is like, thrilling to be comic fans. We're so lucky," or something like that. And I was like, okay, gonna make sure I read this before the show. And you were damn right. I mean, with the 11 O'Clockers, I was thinking even up to like a week ago, like, like the absolute stuff is great, but it's just not enough of it. It's not going to make my list. Just not enough of it this year. Like I can't do it. Mm-hmm. But then I got to be honest with you. After that, 3 issues of this, it's enough. It's enough. Because I can't think of another superhero book I read this year that put out 12 issues that I thought three of the issues were as good as these 3 issues. So like, it's enough. Yeah. Like I think it's enough. It warrants it. I mean, not well. Listen, we make the rules. Like you could do 1 issue would be enough. But I'm with you. I think everything you said is facts. And I will tell you that the thing. I mean, we'll give Vince all the credit. He was the first and most vocal proponent of Hayden Sherman. For a long time. Which is not to say we haven't also enjoyed his work. Above Snakes, and and listen, as you guys know, I didn't love Chicken Devil the story, but but what I'm saying, but the art, yes. You guys love the art, but I loved Above Snakes, and so we've all been fans of Hayden's art for a long time. But I dare say, not only is this his best looking book yet, but it's getting better with each issue. Whereas, like I was saying again, no front to art, you guys know I worship Brigada. I own art from the man. I think he's an incredible artist. I thought the last issue of Absolute Batman looked a little rushed, and again, who am I to say? Even it is rushed, he's 80 times better an artist than I could ever be. But I opened up this book and I thought, holy shit! Like Hayden's getting stronger. Like this issue looks better than the first 2. He's hitting his stride, which is just incredible. And I think he should be applauded for that. And like you said, it's an incredible book. And history tells us it's going to be hard to sustain this level of quality for too long, but man, if we can get 12, 18 issues of this from this too, I mean, it's going to be an all-time run. It's phenomenal so far. So I'm with you.
You want to know why I think that is?
Mm-hmm.
Why this one looks better than, that's a relative term, obviously, but better than the one before it, which looked better than the one before it. He's challenging himself.
Sure.
He's not content to just fill a panel. We see this all the time in mainstream books, that you could just tell that it's just like, oh shit, I got 6 panels to do on this page. All right, that's done. This was done. Like, that's not, from what I can see, that's not Hayden Sherman. Like, he's crafting the entire page first, the layout of it. Then he goes in and he's challenging himself with every panel. It's not just filling it in, moving on to the next one. It's like, how can I do best by this panel in relation to how it fits in with the whole page? And you don't see that. You do not see that often in mainstream books, because number one, they don't have enough time. I just think, I can call him a kid because I'm probably twice his age. I just think the kid is a rare breed. That he's finding a path that not only serves the narrative, but he's trying to make it lively and challenging for himself. Yeah, good luck. You know, I mean, this is like 1 in a million.
I would love to just, I mean, it would just satisfy me, but I would love to see, I'd be content if Hayden just decided to do an issue where every panel was just Diana's eyes. He shows so much emotion, or just whatever she's feeling,
and he draws her ethnically, which is great. Like, she looks Greek to me.
Absolutely.
And which I love. Panel
with just her eyes, and you absolutely know what she's feeling, what she's trying to convey. It's what he does, especially with Diana's eyes, but what he does with the eyes is just absolutely phenomenal. The man's a talent and a half.
Completely agree. And it's even like random parts, like there's heart to this book which again, credit to Kelly here too, because we're praising Hayden a lot, justifiably. But like when Wonder Woman has the little talk with Pegasus, you know,
yes,
and it's like, you know, it's like this dark skull and evil looking thing, but she's got such love for it anyway, and she doesn't want her little pet to die. She's like, don't die, because he's not going to bring you back again for me. And it's like, oh yeah, for real though.
Yeah, I spoiled it for myself by leafing through it, and I saw the sacrifice page, and I'm just like, that's really smart. That's really damn smart of Kelly to do that, because she didn't. Not to say anything, because Dap's right. It just came out realistically today, and but you could tell there was obviously there's planning involved in it. It's like, why does she look that way? Well, okay, now you know. So it's pretty good. It's pretty brilliant. Yeah, I liked it a lot. And you know, as an armchair reader, you can be like, that's just planning, like whatever. It's she made a present day situation fit a past sacrifice. Yeah, okay, but no, it's not. It's just smart writing. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly's amazing. I mean, we've had her on the show.
It's tight. It's really tight.
She's a great writer. She's really coming. I was about to say something and I don't agree. I was about to say she's really come into her own, which is not what I mean, because she's been a great writer for a long time. It's wonderful that she's hitting, her talents are now hitting like enough people that they're realizing just what an incredible short writer she is.
I think you're right. Yeah, you can't say, well, the project really clicked this time, because all her work prior to this.
She's been really on a heater. Good. I mean, last year she had an amazing year. She's been on a heater.
The Captain Marvel run, yeah.
It's a dream team. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
completely agree.
Good. It's amazing. To my eyes, like, I haven't been invested in DC for a long time, but it seems like there's a rally going on this year. Again, from my vantage point, I've just started to see the good stuff coming from DC. So I'm probably wrong in the rally. They could have been doing this for a while. But it just seems like, holy crap, out of left field. Look at DC.
Yeah, I mean, as we've talked about a lot, we're changing the 11 o'clockers this year. But for every year before this, we had a favorite publisher, and almost always I gave it to Image. Occasionally we give it to a smaller press publisher. But and Image continues to be, I read an absolute crap load of Image books every month. But if we were doing that category this year, which we're not, DC would be my first ever DC, because I've been so impressed with so much of their stuff, and admittedly part of that is the juxtaposition of how I feel about Marvel, right? Which is maybe fair or unfair. That's just that's part of it to me. Like I read the Marvel solicits and like it's like pure limp dick, you know. And then it's like when I read a DC
well, you are
book,
50, so
I'm fully excited, you know, fully sprung. So it's like I took some rows, you know. So
the keywords.
Yeah. So Vince, let's have a Crime-O-Rama tonight.
Let's do it.
Great, because
yeah, that's great.
Yes, because
even though the one I talked about, it was like downbeat.
That's okay.
You bring it up.
Still counts.
It's okay. I did mention this book when the first issue came out, but then said I'm going to wait till it's over and revisit it. And true to my word, because I am a man of my word, Gilt Frame. Now, this was just a 3-issue miniseries, but each issue was 60 pages. So effectively like a 6-issue miniseries, basically.
This.
What's that?
Who wrote this?
It's interesting you asked that, because it's co-written. One of the writers is someone that very near to dear to my heart, talk about him a lot, Mr. Matt Kindt.
Oh, great writer.
His co-writer, none other than Margie Kindt, which some people might be thinking, oh, that's his wife, right? Works with him. No. His wife is Charlene, and she colors many of his books. No. Margie Kindt is none other than Matt Kindt's mama. His mama.
GTFO.
Yes. I don't know, like, if it was her idea, like, this story, or whatever, but however it came to be, this book is co-written by Matt and his mom, Margie. And it is an absolute banger. Now, look, I am a mark for Matt Kindt books, right? Like, I love Matt Kindt. I particularly love Matt Kindt crime books. It just works for me. I can't think of one I haven't enjoyed. I have an entire shelf in my comic room devoted to Matt Kindt and Jeff Lemire. Half the shelf is Jeff, half the shelf is Matt.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, to meet cute. Oh, relax, dude. You dick.
Thanks for that.
You douche. See, now you're throwing me off my track again. This book is, in its at its core, it's actually similar to the Tommaso book in that I think this is also very much of the Knives Out, Glass Onion variety. But unlike the Tommaso book, which is a very intentionally lighthearted, quick in and out, surface level kind of thing, this, in typical Kindt fashion, is extremely intricate and you know, he suffers no fools. You need to pay attention to the book. This is not a book you can skim and be like, oh, okay. You have to really read it and recognize that everything that's happening is for a reason. And it's a true whodunit. But the premise is fun. It's an older woman named Mary and her grandnephew named Sam, but it's effectively her son. Mary and her husband adopted Sam when he was a kid. He was an orphan. And now he's in his 20s. The husband's out of the picture, and Mary and Sam are, they have, like, weirdly become a crime-solving duo, like, unintentionally, but they have a knack for it, and at the point with which we meet them in the series, they have, at least by reputation, solved 6 world-renowned whodunit, like who Mr. Mysteries, right? It's just kind of, they become their thing. Like a modern-day Sherlock Holmes, you know, they're known for solving mysteries, even though they're relatively unassuming, odd couple, if you will. And they get called into, or involved in, another murder mystery where Mary collects or has a house full of antiques, and she has a pair of chairs, and these chairs have potentially a buyer, and she thinks the chairs are worth a lot of money. So Sam and Mary go from their home in the U.S. to Paris to get these. They bring the chairs with them to meet the potential buyer and get them appraised. And while they're there, the appraiser says, "Oh, these actually aren't worth that much. They're fakes." And she doesn't believe him, but whatever. And then in the midst of her trying to prove that they're real and figure out why the person that was paid to appraise them was lying in her mind, the potential buyer is found murdered in one of those situations where there's no signs of forced entry. The place is a mess. There's all kinds of clues, and it becomes a classic whodunit. But where it gets really fun is that there are basically 6 suspects, including Mary and Sam, because they're in the they were the last people to meet with the guy. And in comes this French detective, who is like the know-it-all super detective, and he's just like the was it Daniel Craig or who was in the movie to Dap? What actor plays the detective in those?
Yep, it's Daniel Craig.
Yeah, it's Daniel Craig, right? Yeah, it's the Daniel Craig character. You know, he's very ostentatious. He's quirky, right? He's got a sidekick, and he's like, okay. He's like, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna interview each of them, and he's telling his sidekick, like, I'm gonna change my lapel pin. When I know who did it, I'm gonna change from my black lapel pin to my red one. And then when I have the evidence to put them in prison, I'm gonna change it from red to white. You know, but he's like, but even if I don't really know, you're gonna leak to them that that's what I do, so that we can put the pressure on them. You know, like these like quirky things, right? Like he's kind of setting this whole thing up, and he goes and interviews them, and then Mary and Sam are very like dismissive of him, and they're like, oh, he's a bumbling idiot. Like we already know who did it. We're gonna figure it out. He does, but like it's going to be funny to watch him screw this up. And so they're every interview he's doing, they're listening in on it, and they're from another room. They can hear through the air ducts, and they're making fun of him and saying, "Oh, he's got this clue wrong," or he didn't see this clue, or clearly that was a fake clue. And you're kind of going along through the story, trying to like from their vantage point, trying to understand who really did it. And it's one of the people that we've been introduced to, clue style. But there is a twist in this book that I did not see coming, and I think totally flips on its head the conceit of this style of whodunit, which we've seen a tons of times, right? Like we've seen so many stories, much like the Glass Onion story and Knives Out, where you know the quirky problem solver outbests the sharp famous detective. But in this book, there's a twist, and I'm not gonna allude to it because that's the fun of the book, that knocks you on your ass and completely like turns on its head the whole premise of these kinds of whodunits. And it just was so well executed, and it was like one of those aha moments where when it hit, you're like, oh, and all the pieces fall together, and you replay. It makes me want to reread the story because you replay the story in a different way. You're like, okay, just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Exactly the kind of book that makes me love Kindt, and I don't know where, you know, again, I have no idea how much Margie really had to do with this. Maybe it was just a kernel of the idea, but man, oh man, if you like whodunits, this is a book that you'll absolutely be you're overjoyed to have. It's so much fun. And the other thing too is, although I read it in issues, Matt is meticulous, almost like obsessively so, with his collected editions. He does a phenomenal job putting them together, and he always has tons of back matter and everything. And I'm sure this will have the same. So I don't even know if the collected edition of this has been solicited. Because, like I said, I have the issues, but I'm going to definitely double dip on the collected edition because all of his collected editions are always just really well put together as a book itself, just beyond the story. So, yep, super cool. Gilt frame by Dark Horse, Matt Kindt, written and drawn with Margie, his mom, also co-writing. So, just incredible. I'm so glad I was able to read this before the end of the year. Hint, hint.
Look at that.
Love it.
So Matt also illustrated it?
Which is why that's why I know you're not going to read it, but that's fine.
I'm going to read it.
You're not going to, but it's okay. But
I'm gonna. No, come on. I'll read it.
Turn over new leaf in 2025.
No, I just.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's great.
Yep.
Well, that he is.
He sure is. So. We've been like teasing. Every time we talk to him, it's like, when you coming out? He's like, oh, yeah, okay. Uh-huh. But when is this going to happen?
He doesn't do. I mean, he just doesn't do press. I don't think I've ever heard him do a
We're not
podcast.
Press. Come on.
No, I'm saying I literally don't. If he's ever done a podcast, I've never. I mean, I don't know that I can remember it. I don't think he's never done any of the podcasts, ours included. So it's probably never going to happen.
It'll happen when Van Lente comes on.
Shout out to Tony though. As Esmond just had Van Lente on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you knew that. I thought that's why you were bringing him up.
No, I was bringing him up because we had an entire fucking week of Van Lente.
Yeah, a month. It was a Van Lente month. It was a month. Fred Van Lente was just on Esmond's podcast.
That's awesome.
I like Fred.
I love Tony. Good fan.
Yep.
I'm not ashamed to be talking about this on our show, what with our focus being comics, because this was written by the man who is widely regarded as the greatest comic book writer of all time.
Oh, you're going to go there, huh?
And that is Alan Moore.
Okay.
2 books I'm reading concurrently. I don't know if that's such a great idea, but I am. I'm reading The Great When, which is the first of 5, I've been told, long London novels. And I'm also reading the Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. A little bit on the latter. Jason, have you cracked that? David, you have it too, right?
I've cracked it open, yes.
Cracked it? The copy is impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough comics, like we said. Stricken from the O'Closkers, but it is Alan Moore. So my only... One of the things that I wish, and I know that the whole aesthetic of the Bumper Book of Magic is to resemble the British Bumper Books, which were anthologies, collected works of previously published things that were produced so, for kids that they can just scoop it up, get a whole bunch of stuff for not a whole lot of money and enjoy themselves and learn something. But I don't want to say that it's not up to snuff, because Steve Moore, Rick Veitch, like the visuals are good, but I really wish Eddie Campbell was part of it. I really do. Because I'm selfish and I want to see Eddie Campbell work with Alan Moore again. But I think in doing so, it would kick itself out of that bumper book aesthetic. Like the whole cutout things and the, there's a youthful British angle to it that it does fit the aesthetic, but man, I just wish Eddie Campbell was part of it. And I don't even know what I mean by saying that, but I have this strong desire to see Campbell and Moore work together again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a great book. The coverage is comprehensive. It's exhaustive. It's Alan Moore, so it's like very in depth, and I think it's gonna spin around the heads of a lot of people that aren't plugged into this kind of stuff. Like I said previously, if someone is interested in just learning about what is this thing, this magic with a K, you'd give them this book. You give them the Serpent and the Moon and Serpent Bumper Book of Magic. You give them the book, and you will get a pretty broad overview of just what everybody's talking about. I think it's an essential purchase, even though Eddie Campbell's not a part of it. But The Great When is one. I'm 3/4 of the way through it, and it's easily one of the best things Alan Moore has ever written.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It crushes Jerusalem.
Okay.
Which is probably 3 or 4 times the length. Jerusalem's like massive, and this is infinitely more relatable. It's extremely human, where I think the Jerusalem was like Alan Moore cracking his knuckles and saying, "Look at what I can do." Mm. And I enjoyed Jerusalem, but it's basically him trying to position Northampton as the center of the magical universe. So, in a very long-winded way, extremely long-winded. I don't want to say The Great When is terse, but it's extremely human. Like at the center of it is a nebbish. It's this kid, Dennis Knuckleyard, and he works at a bookstore because he has nothing else to do and nowhere to live. So he works in this bookstore, and he's sent by the owner, a woman named Coffin Ada. You have to read this thing. She's a pisser. She sends him to pick up a load of books she bought by Arthur Machen. Right? And within the lot is a book that only existed as a prop within Macken's stories. Like it was something he could, much like Lovecraft and the Necronomicon. This book was created as a lever to propel his narrative. It didn't exist in our world, and yet here it is. It exists because it was taken from the real London, which exists below the surface of the mundane world. There's two dimensions. There's two universes, two realities. And this kid gets sucked into this. Yeah, he has to bring the book back. He has to fix it. He has to. These things cannot exist in our world. They have to be returned to the council in the other London, the long London. It's just amazing. Like, it is absolutely incredible. It's part. There's a little bit of noir. There's a little bit of horror. There's a lot of magic, and I just think it reads like butter. Like, it is extremely easy to read. First chapter notwithstanding, the first chapter is a bit hard because he's telling you things that will happen in these vignettes with characters that you don't know yet. So it's, and there's a musical motif to it. Like the first part is woodwind, and then when the scene changes, it turns to brass, and then the scene changes again and it becomes a timpani. Like, so it just listen to the chapter titles. Music at the beginning. Chapter 1, the best way to start a book. Like, that's fun. That's Alan Moore being cheeky and cool. You know, it's like, this is not, I'm stunned, but there's not heavy lifting to do with this book. It's just, it flows. I can see Alan kicking out 5 of these, no problem at all.
Nice.
But Jerusalem was a freaking piece of work. Like, you had to invest in that book. Whereas this is pulpy. And Knuckleyard is, I see him as like a young Roger Waters. He's not attractive. He's lanky. He's clumsy. He's like a nebbish, and he's involved in this extra dimensional thing that exists that not a lot of people know about. And it's like kind of like Fight Club. You don't talk about it. Those that know don't say, because when you say, bad things happen. And there are things that exist in the long London that can spill over into our reality if there are doorways, access ways into this long London and more. And it's really neat because the chapters are in regular font, but when the scene changes to the other London, everything's in italic. It's nuts. So you instantly know, oh my God, the next paragraph's completely in italic. You're going somewhere. And that's when Alan just goes all out with the language. Crazy. The it's so poetic and beautiful the way he strings descriptors together. It's just I'm reading it thinking, holy shit, this is literally one of the best things I've ever read by Alan Moore.
Wow, that's high praise.
It's kind of like the Pogo issue of Swamp Thing on steroids. Huh. He just plays with language like crazy in this thing. It is worth every freaking penny, and I'm not even done with it yet. And and it's one of those books that I can see myself going back to and rereading like every year.
Right.
It's that good.
Yes, I gotta get it.
No, you gotta. It's very accessible.
And thinner than Jerusalem, it looks like. So that's
it's like I said,
hundreds of pages.
It's a quarter. Jerusalem's like over 1,000 pages, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's massive. This is only 300 and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 300 pages.
Jerusalem is 1,266 pages.
Right, so it's a fifth almost. 3 times 5, 4 times 3 is 12. So it's a quarter of the size of Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It doesn't require a huge investment, and it just reads so easily. It's like Dennis gets connected to a streetwalker that he finds incredibly beautiful. Where that's going to go, I don't know. We'll see. But
there's a map.
There's a map. Yeah, there's a thug topside who wants access to the real London for nefarious purposes, and he's blackmailing and coercing Dennis into giving him access, and it's just nuts. It's it'll blow the lid off your brain, but it's easy to read, and it's very easy to understand too. Some of Jerusalem was very thick, you know. You had to put the time in, but this is not that. I don't want to pump it up too much in case. I think it's brilliant, but it's Alan Moore.
Here's a query: do you think, in our long history of doing the show, we have talked not enough about Alan Moore's work, enough or too much?
I'll just leave it at this: we've never talked From Hell, and that's a friggin' crime.
Well, I was just going to say my vote is not nowhere near enough. Like, considering how many episodes and how much we talk, like, I mean, we certainly talked about lots of Alan Moore, but like, considering that it's Alan fucking Moore, like we have not done deep dives on a lot of his work, which is. Yeah.
But then you see when you do to really pull the lid off an Alan Moore work, you almost have to annotate it. Like, if we were going to talk Promethea, that's a incredibly difficult task, because every page of Promethea is littered with stuff that is like a rabbit hole, right?
Sure.
I mean, you've seen blogs like Promethea, page 1, panel 4, and they just go. There's paragraphs and like, that's exhaustive, and I appreciate that kind of stuff, but I don't think we can do that here. Way back in the back of my mind, I hear Chris going, you know what I mean? Chris used to get like frustrated when I expended too much time and depth on things. Like,
no, but we've long passed. I mean,
I know, but
yeah.
As a listener, I'm thinking, if we're going to do Promethea, you got to devote an entire episode, at least, to Promethea. Like, if we do From Hell, that's a extremely dense book, right? Not as much as Promethea, but it has its moments, right? I can't just go into From Hell and be like, oh yeah, okay, it's about, Jack the Ripper and stuff, and this is how it turns out. Because
why would we? But of course, but that we're if not us, then who? Like, of course,
right? But even an hour and a half, 2 hours, I really don't think is I mean, we should definitely take the bite, right? Because again, you got to give the king his due. He is the best.
Like, I'm just saying, like, if we were to go, like, again, he's out so much to be like, I don't want to go through all this, but like, I was trying to think of things we have talked about, at least in some level of detail, and not. Like, I don't know that we've ever really specifically talked about his Captain Britain run. We've referenced it many times over the years, like in terms of, we enjoyed it, or that Alan Davis, but I don't know that we've ever specifically talked about it, right?
We should.
Right, no, I'm just saying.
We went into it with when the omnibus came out.
That's true. Yeah, okay, so there you go. See, Ballad of Halo Jones we have talked about, and again, that's kind of probably didn't need to have, really, honestly. It's one of my lesser favorite. We have talked about Miracle Man, for sure, so we've done that. I don't think we've ever done any kind of discussion on V for Vendetta of any great consequence. I don't think.
It's probably my least favorite of his works.
Sure, but I'm saying I don't think we have, right? No. We've certainly talked about the Swamp Thing run, for sure.
That's barely. Barely.
Right, but I'm saying we've given it a couple. We've definitely given it some love. We have given it.
We've talked about it often, but we've never done it deep.
We almost never.
Well, we did the first book, though.
Ever
talked the first book.
Top 10. We've never talked top 10.
Well, I was going to say, so Watchmen, again, we've never done like official deep dive on Watchmen, but I mean, we've referenced Watchmen a million times, so I'll say we've talked about Watchmen, and we certainly talked about Watchmen in the context of like its place in history, and when all the before Watchmen stuff happened, we talked about it, and so I'll say we covered Watchmen. I'll give us that one. Not sure we ever talked about the Killing Joke in any great detail. Not to say that there's a lot really to say about that one, but probably the most egregious, which you already alluded to, Vince, is From Hell. We've never really discussed From Hell in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, we've referenced that we think it's a great book, but we've never really talked about the book.
I think out of all of his work, Killing Joke is the most surface level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Captain Britain is too, but yeah.
Right.
So we didn't talk about From Hell. That's probably that's the biggest like omission. We did talk about Lost Girls, because when that came out, that was a lot of fun, and we talked about that in great length. So we did do that. I mean, it was 15 years ago, but we definitely did talk about that, because I remember getting it and going in on that. We did cover some of the top 10 stuff, the ABC stuff rather. We did cover some of that back in the day, but
mostly
not
Tom
in any great detail.
Stromo. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
But I mean, personally, I've never talked top 10 because I've only read the first issue.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. We definitely have covered League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's one we actually have covered quite a bit.
Yeah. Some people cite that as his best work, and I'm like, you're out of your damn mind. Have you not read Watchmen or From Hell?
It's great, but I agree. We really haven't covered Promethea. We did cover Promethea, like its significance when we had J.H. Williams on to talk about.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. Out of all his work, I think Promethea is the one that reads to me like an equation the most.
Right. Yeah.
Like he had a plan going in, and it's just like, how do I explain all of magic to the Promethea could be the bumper book in narrative form, like in comic book narrative form.
Yeah. We never really talked about big numbers or small killing. We did talk about Neonomicon and Providence in great detail, because they came out while we were doing the show.
They're great. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying they were current modern, so we covered them as they were coming out. But yeah, I mean, again, like for the person I think who if you were doing a poll of 1,000 comic readers, he would I think comfortably be considered the greatest comic writer of all time, and certainly who I consider this comic writer of all time. I don't put words in your guys' mouths, but at least American comic, or not American, English native comics. Yeah, I mean, again, like I think we've given him his flowers a million times, and I referenced many of his works many times, but I don't think we've really shared our explicit thoughts or had any kind of like collaborative discussion about a lot of his most important works.
Yeah, that's true. There are many writers that get the job done in a spectacular way. List them all, okay? But Alan Moore not only does that, but he gives you enough below the surface of almost everything he's written to elevate the story far beyond that of other writers, I think. It's almost, I feel stupid even saying that, because it's like, no shit. But how do you put Alan Moore's contribution to comics in words?
Well, what's interesting is, time obviously reframes perception, both in terms of amplifying and muting. And I have been thinking a lot, maybe it's because I turned 50, but I've been thinking a lot about the fact that Alan Moore has now been out of comics, at least actively, for a long enough period of time that, and the things that most people would consider like his all-time greatest works are now so old, multiple decades, that I do wonder if there is a pretty big chunk of the current comics reading audience that maybe doesn't quite get it. Like they hear us say Alan Moore in these reverential terms, and they maybe respect the name and know that he is a legend, but they don't feel his status as the GOAT like we do,
Could it be?
And that's a bummer. I think so.
Oh.
Again, like I think a lot of, even if younger listeners, or maybe if you chime in, like I think they may understand that Alan Moore is one of the greatest, but I bet you a lot of them haven't even read most of these books. Like I'm going to assume if you're someone who considers yourself a comic fan to the point where you listen to our podcast, that you've read Watchmen. Like, because, literally tens of millions of people in the world have read Watchmen that don't read comics otherwise. So I'll give them that. But, like, how many have read From Hell, right? How many have read League? How many have read the ABC stuff? I bet you a shockingly small number. Oh, and I'm talking about people that are 35 and younger, 30 and younger, right? Like, those would be the people I'm talking about. That they love comics, they've read a million things. Maybe they know and respect Alan Moore for his reputation, but they don't feel his works like we do.
You're bringing me down.
No, I'm not even saying it in a bad way. Like, that's just history, right? I mean, I liken it to, I mean, we all have, like, given our ages, like, it's like, Eisner, right? Or like, or like, there are people that I understand their importance historically, right? But, like, it's historic for me. It's not, like, their work doesn't hit me in a special place. Like, I respect it and I've read it because I feel it's important to have read and important to understand their place. And I can respect them for that, but it doesn't hit me, right? Like, it's not,
right.
It doesn't fill me with the joy that like Alan Moore does, where, like, until the day I die, no one's convinced me Alan Moore is a writer ever. Like, you could throw a million arguments and stats at me till you're blue in the face. I'll just be like, you're wrong. Like, that's how I feel about him. I'm like, you're wrong. Like, he's right. The best.
Eisner's still alive. It's just that if you don't, like, you look at Somni's work with the Batman and Robin year one, like with the characters flipping across the page, and that's pure Eisner, right? But contemporary eyes don't know that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
right? So
that's you being a student of art and comic history to know that. But, like, 98% of people reading this Somni book, loving it, or not
totally
thinking,
agree.
"Oh, that's Will Eisner."
Totally agree. Yep. Any double page splash with a staircase and characters going down it and moving over and then going down another staircase and they're fighting away across. Like, that's Eisner. That's what Will Eisner gave to one of the things that he gave to the medium. But again, you're right.
Yeah.
Modern readers would probably be like, oh, whoever drew it is amazing. Yeah,
well, and this is like, I mean, we've had discussions over the years with our Mount Rushmores or our all-timers. And for me, my litmus test, and this is as a sports fan, the same thing. Like, I think I've told you guys, Holden has been watching the Eagles games with me this year for the first time. It's been just a super joy because, being my youngest, like, none of the boys, despite them all playing football, like, none of them ever really watched NFL with me, and you guys know how passionate I am about that. So it's been awesome having Holden being into it with me this year, and I think it's part because he just wants to spend time with me. But he asked me tons of questions, and one of the things he asked, like, well, how do you determine, like, who's a Hall of Famer, like, who's great, like how do they figure that out? And we were talking about that. I said, well, there's a million different people everyone's got their own opinions. I said, but generally speaking, to be a Hall of Famer in football, because it's actually a pretty exclusive club, the Hall of Fame, you have to be elite of your time, and you have to play a long time. You have to have longevity and excellence, right? And to me, the reason that Moore is going to top of the list, or at least I can't conceive him not being, is because not only did he have an incredible output of prolific, wonderful stuff, but, like, he just was so capable and displayed the capability in every imaginable genre. And I always say that, like, I love Brubaker and Phillips, right? Like, there's lots of people I love, but they're pretty much one-trick ponies, and they do that one trick so well that they're all-timers. But, like, I'm never, ever, ever going to hear an argument that Ed Brubaker is as good as a writer as Alan Moore. Unless Ed Brubaker goes on a run where he's given me a romance comic, and he's giving me a sci-fi comic, and he's giving me a pulpy superhero comic, right? Where I'm seeing him, like, display the same kind of adeptness he displays in crime comics in lots of other genres. Moore basically took a list of genres and checked them all off, right? Even with, like, Neonomicon and Prometheus, he gave us hardcore horror comics, right? Like, he's done everything. He's done anything you can imagine. He's done sex comics, horror comics, traditional cape and cow comics, right? Like, the whole pulpy comics, like, you name it, he's done it, and he's done it at an elite level. And there's not even, like, 10 people in comics history that can say they did all those genres, even, like, at a good level versus a great level.
He's even done funny animal comics.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
he has never forgotten the face of his father. To put it in Dark Tower terms. He's always on the mark. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's odd because nobody's that good.
Nobody's that good. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody's like, how do you do it? How do you cross the streams like he does, and not only in a very entertaining way, but in a way that resonates throughout. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Morrison has tried to do that. But I think
Morrison's come the closest to touching the son of Alan Moore. I think, like, when Morrison was... No, I'm saying there were points in Morrison's career, like, a long time ago, when I thought, okay, if Morrison continues to do the things he's doing...
Right.
For another 10 to 20 years,
right.
He's going to be right up there with Moore. I don't personally think he did. I think he fell off. By design, like, he just stopped being interested in doing comics.
I think he stumbled a little bit here and there. The thing with Alan is that regardless of the depth with which he infuses the work, he always makes them entertaining.
Yeah. Well,
Promethea is really dense, but it's entertaining. Yeah. Multiversity, I don't know if it's really all that entertaining, sure. but it's dense as fuck, right? Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, Dap, you and I think both have much love for Mark Waid this year. And mm-hmm. I already think Waid was like a Hall of Famer before his renaissance this last couple of years, but I honestly think like he's kind of put a cherry on top of it. Like I think Mark Waid objectively is, like, if you line it all up, is one of the greatest superhero writers of all time of any era. Like, and I don't even think it's like, I view that as like not even really debatable at this point. But like, and again, from my vantage, that makes him a Hall of Famer. But like, he's a great superhero writer, right? Like I can't think of a Waid. Like, Waid has written an insane amount of incredibly fun superhero comics. But like, Waid isn't Moore, right? Because he doesn't do other things, and that's fine. Like again, like, he's given us decades of incredible superhero comics. Like, I love him. Like, that's like no shade whatsoever. But like, that's his thing, right? Like, there are people like that, right? Like, and that's why I guess I ascribe tremendous value to diversity of subject matter. Like, that's why before Jason Aaron kind of like had his whole like, midlife crisis, like, Avengers, divorce era, like, I was thinking he was on his way to being an all-timer because he was giving us different types of comics all the time, and they were all great. Comedy and action and horror, and like, just, it was just banging them out like in all different genres. And I just think there's great value in that. I love when writers can give me lots and lots of different types of comics,
right?
Which is like, again, I'm not trying to like play favorites, but I love Matt Kindt, I love Jeff Lemire, but if I'm lining them up, I'm picking Lemire because Lemire's given me a lot of a broader range, right? Lemire's done classic superhero stuff. He's done horror. He's done mystery, right? He's done slice of life. Kindt is really, really good at doing slice of life crime stuff. Like, that's his thing, though. Like, he does that extremely well, in my opinion. But like, I don't know that he's really given me anything else, right? And that's fine. Like, I'll read his crime comics until the day he stops making them, and I'll love them.
Well, he's done sci-fi really well.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm saying, that's why, again, like, I guess we're beating a dead horse here, but that's why Alan Moore, like, you gotta come correct if you're gonna try and tell me Alan Moore is A, overrated, or B, not the greatest.
Right,
because,
right.
Like, show me what he hasn't done well.
Just to get back to Waid, like, Mark is really adept at shuffling the pieces on the board in interesting and novel ways. But Alan can do that, but he goes below the board, extremely deep below the board. And while he's at it, he's going to tell you why the board's important and why it exists in the first place. So there's nothing wrong.
I'm just saying, like, there are 100 to 200 writers every month for 60 years and counting that have written superhero comics, and like, that's all they do, and like, that's fine and that's great. And obviously, I think even at this point in our lives, we've probably read more superhero comics collectively than we have any other type. And that's what like again, like there's I don't want people to hear this and think I think there's anything wrong with like a Mark Waid basically just doing superhero comics, because he does them incredibly well, and he's done them incredibly well for decades. Like, props to him. Like, that's incredible. Like, if everybody wrote superhero comics like Mark Waid does, I would still love Marvel, right? Like, I wouldn't be like actively avoiding. Like he is like a saving grace in the land of Big Two comics for me. Like thank God for Mark Waid this last 2 years. So yeah, no, I don't like. Again, this is just a question of like when we're talking GOAT status. There's Hall of Fame and then there's GOAT status, and I think very few people objectively can even vie for the title of GOAT.
You got to cover a lot of bases if you're going to be called the GOAT, and
Yes.
I think Alan successfully does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look at you bring up Alan Moore on his novels, and it leads to a discussion of.
And it's funny, but where was I? See, you knocked me off my pedestal because I was going to say something, but it's funny because the next in line, and I don't even know who that would be, but the next in line isn't even close. Like there's a vista between Alan Moore and the contender to the throne. Again, not sure who that is, but if you're going to, try and knock that dude off his pedestal, you're going to have to do some really fancy footwork in a lot of different arenas. And I just don't see anybody doing that.
I was thinking of all the people that we've collectively named to our favorite writer or favorite writer artist over the years in the Oscars. Like looking at, there's just no one. Like, to me, to your point, like no one.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Like, because the people that have been on the list the most are people like Lemire, Remender, DWJ, like, and they're all great. They're all phenomenal, and I love all. But like, I mean, come on.
I think the guy that comes closest for me is probably Frank Miller, but even Frank does one thing. Let's be honest, like 2.5 things really, really well, but that's a pittance compared to Alan Moore, right?
I mean, I know we disagree here a little bit, and I don't turn this into because I'm not trying to troll you, but to me, Frank had a period of his career that was so molten magma hot, it may in fact be the best short period ever. Like, it may be better than, like, his 10-year window may be better than Alan's any 10-year window. Like, I'm not saying for me it would be, but
I don't agree with that, because within that 10-year window, Alan wrote Watchmen. So game over.
Yeah, I'm saying it wouldn't be my take, but what I'm saying is I'm kind of agreeing with you that, like, there is a 10-year window where I think Frank did as good an output of comics as anyone has ever done it. But where you lose me is Frank, in my opinion, didn't come close to sustaining that level.
No, you're right.
In the next 25 years.
Yeah, you're right.
So regardless of what you think of the stuff, I mean, I know we disagree about the stuff he's done in the last decade, but like, even if I agreed with you that it was good, it's not great.
Even Jack, who left an indelible mark on comics. Comics would not be the same without Jack Kirby in terms of story and art. Jack can't even come close to Alan. And Jack did romance and superhero and sci-fi and war comics. And just, he didn't do them as well as Alan did.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Daps is over here just biting his tongue. He must hate Alan Moore. I don't even know what he's...
Where am I going to jump in?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Exactly. I'm over here like raising my hand and shit. But it's... There's
we need a button on Discord. This is a little digital hand.
Excuse me. Raise hand. Yeah, excuse. At first, I may have mixed up. It wasn't the Captain Britain omnibus. It was the Miracle Man, the Marvel Man omnibus.
That's right.
We covered the first bunch of. We covered the first book.
Yeah.
But no, you're nothing you said is wrong or incorrect. The man is it's no matter how many other stories I've enjoyed from any number of writers. There's just you can kind of tell you're reading a Moore book, but he's I look at him like the blueprint. No matter how much I enjoy Ellis or Morrison to varying degrees, or
Ennis
Gaiman to a degree.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Gaiman.
Garth even.
Yeah, I think Gaiman. Yeah, not to derail you, but I think I think Gaiman to me would be number 2. But we can table that for now. Just go, please.
But there's, I mean, I'm not saying we wouldn't enjoy those stories if there was no Alan Moore, but obviously because of what Alan did, like we've been able to enjoy so many stories because of what he did in the first place. So
yeah.
I can't. I may not have loved, or may not have. I haven't read everything he's done, but I may not have loved everything that I've read. I agree. I think that V for Vendetta is probably not. It's definitely maybe an entertaining movie to some, but it's not necessarily. Oh, you're getting into comics. You want to find out about Alan Moore? Here's the book for you. No, it definitely wouldn't be. Yeah, I also, I think I feel like no matter what we would say, because we give him all his flowers whenever we're talking about any of his work anyway. But if we were to dedicate or spotlight it, I don't know if we would be able to convey the feeling, the love, the admiration, or it. I'm worried that it might just fall flat. Whatever you think about Alan Moore in your head, like whatever, if I were to try to express that, I don't know if I would be able to get my feeling across as well as I would like to. It's different than, talking about Wagner or Kane or anybody like that, but it would be fun to try. We've talked about books he's worked on over the years, but I mean, we've never. As far as like a whole episode, I mean, Miracle Man aside, I don't think we've. And yes, and we did do the Swamp Thing for Book of the Month years ago. But I mean, those are the books that he did. It's weird. Should we do a Watchmen episode? Maybe not, because we've kind of said everything we need to say at different parts over the decade plus we've been doing this, almost 15 years. We've said a lot about Watchmen, even if we've never actually talked about.
And like
Watchmen
so has everyone else and their brother.
Exactly.
Like,
No, for sure.
I would much rather tackle From Hell or something else than.
I agree.
Give me a reason to finally read From Hell. Yeah.
Okay. I will say, I heard Vince groan when I mentioned Gaiman. I mean, I will say that, and again, this is just like we all have our own equations here. I still put Gaiman far distant from Moore, only because even though I'm less interested in superhero comics than ever, it's still such a foundational part of my comic fandom, and Gaiman's never really. I mean, yes, Gaiman's not a superhero comic writer, so that's a big missing piece for me to even make the argument.
Yeah, his Miracle Man's okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's done it. I'm saying
it's entertaining, but it's nothing like what came before. But if I really had to think of who would be next in line in terms of diversity and successful, accomplishing what they set out to do, I don't think I'd go with Morrison as my number 2. I think I'm leaning towards Warren Ellis.
Yeah, so am I.
Interesting. Nah, he wouldn't even. I don't think he'd be in my top 10.
But Warren Ellis's home runs are devastating. Like Transmet, there's almost nothing like Transmet out there.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And
I mean, I know you guys aren't going to co-sign, but I would. I mean, I would personally put Hickman and Waid and Gaiman over him for sure, without hesitation. But
I'd really have to think.
I mean,
I'm doing a spur of the
you
moment thing here, and one could argue that Gaiman's hits are far more.
Well, Sandman carries a lot of Gaiman water,
right?
Because Sandman
absolutely 100%.
The three of us, we're an odd trio in that for how much we love comics, and I do love Sandman, and obviously I read I just read Sandman for the first time 2-3 years ago now. So I'm very late to the party, and I think it, for at least to my mind, it lived up to the hype. I mean, it was obvious, but for some people, Sandman is like the end all be all of comics, right? And so Gaiman gets that carries a lot of weight for him, like in terms of his reputation,
right? But I mean, okay, if Sandman is the peak of the Gaiman mountain, what's next? Miracle Man?
1602.
1602. Like what?
I know.
It's tough.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, it is. It is tough. It's
Anansi boys. Like I just don't see anything even coming close to Sandman. It's like everything is in the shadow of Sandman.
I mean, even at Dark Horse Library, it's all adapted from his short stories or his other prose.
Oh, this is fun. So, I mean, fun. Maybe it's not fun. You know me, I love this.
Oh, it's fun.
CBR did they polled. This is a poll of industry people in 2022 during the. I guess was that this? I'm getting is 2022 post pandemic or during the pandemic?
Tail end.
It's tail end. Yeah.
They did a top all-time writer and artist master list. They've done it before, but this was the most recent version. And again, this is not in any way am I saying my list, but I'll tell you to our point, Alan Moore ran at 185 first place and almost 5,000 points. He's far and away. But Grant Morrison 2, Gaiman 3, Claremont 4, Frank Miller, Mark Waid, which is higher than I would have expected. So props to that. Waid is 6, Stan Lee, Hickman, Busiek, Jeff Johns. They're the top 10.
After Stanley, is there a parenthesis with all of the people that ever did the work?
I know. Of course, Q Vince with the Stanley. But you're also not surprised that he's on a list like this. I mean, that's because how people perceive him.
I find it fascinating that Jack isn't on that list.
Kirby's 23rd. Kirby's 23rd.
That's fucked up. I also find it hilarious that Claremont's above Miller. Like,
yeah, that's wild. That's wild to me.
But honestly, it's because the X-Men's carrying all the water. You know what I mean? Because for most people, the Byrne Claremont, or not just the Byrne, but the Claremont X-Men is the best comics they've ever read, right? That's carrying that.
From Hell is better than the entirety of the Claremont X-Men run. No question. No, Frank did in whatever many issues from Born Again is. How many issues did Claremont do of X-Men? Like decades, right?
Well, to be fair, they're neck and neck, right? They're both
That's
like.
ridiculous.
There's a few points, but it's just a poll. Again, I'm not saying like the list is right. I'm just saying it's curious to see how they rank. I'm actually surprised by I'm surprised to see some of the modern writers. Surprised Waid is 6th. I'm surprised that Johns is 10th. That's pretty high for Johns. I mean, I'm not even saying there's no disagreement.
Yeah, no, it is.
But 11 through
2022, because he was
11 through 20 are BKV, Bendis, Peter David, Brubaker.
Glad I
Brubaker's 14th. Ennis, 15. John Byrne, Roger Stern, Warren Ellis, Roy Thomas, Marv Wolfman. So there's.
I honestly think Roy should be a little higher.
I don't.
Oh my God.
No, I think Roy's a very good writer, but he we talked about this one. I mean, Roy didn't really create much. Roy took other people's toys and he took other people's toys and did good things with them.
When it comes to Jack, I feel
most people aren't viewing Jack as a writer. I mean,
and that's his. Yeah. I believe his creations are way better than any of his writing.
I would bet because there's a top 50 list for writers and artists. I would bet you if I click over to the artist, he's 1 or 2 in art. So hold on, let me see.
Yeah, well, the first
he's number 2 in art and he's just a few points shy of number 1.
The first and number 100 by the way, some issues of Fantastic Four will prove everybody.
No, and I'm going to argue that he would be number 1 were it not for when this poll was done, because George Perez is, and I think that's because he had just died. Personally,
I'm not. No.
George Perez is not. Putting George Perez over Jack Kirby as all time is to me absurd. I think it's actually unjustifiable. It's unjustifiable to me, but whatever.
They might both be prolific as hell, but it's a wild thing. But I'm not saying he is not a decent writer, Vince, but a handful of Fantastic Four issues. Even if you want to say out of the 102 or whatever, a handful of Fantastic Four issues does not mean Kirby should still be in the top 20 of comic book writers.
What do you mean a handful of Fantastic Four issues?
Well, again, is he credited as a writer or not? We don't have to redebate this. No.
We're not going to go down.
No, we're in your camp on this, but like you understand that most people do not perceive Jack Kirby to be a comic.
Stan wrote the dialogue.
Again,
sure, yes.
That's not writing the story.
Jack had great ideas, but putting words into characters' mouths wasn't his strong suit. He had great ideas, but just actually, like, you know, having. So you've read his DC work, and you can see where he was allowed to write,
right,
and where other people came in to help him.
His dialogue's a bit constipated. It is.
Okay,
I get it.
That's all I'm saying.
Is the idea of the Fantastic Four, or the concept of the Silver Surfer, more valuable than putting dialogue in the Silver Surfer?
The Fantastic Four would not be where it is. I mean, I don't know where it is today, but the Fantastic Four would not be where it is if not for Jack. Period. I don't care who was writing. I don't care if Stan was writing it and someone. Jack is the reason why the Fantastic Four is as great as it is.
Stan didn't write it, but whatever.
I understand what you're saying.
It's a pretty interesting world where Chip Zdarsky is on the list. I don't. Top 50 all time. I mean, come on. I know somebody out there loves Zdarsky. But I mean, top 50 all time. Though. I mean,
no, but I mean, Alan Moore just said he's like he is a wizard, and it's just amazing what this guy can do.
I got to say, the writer list, though, to me, it just like scanning it quickly, seems a lot more reasonable than the artist list. I think the artist list is kind of bonkers to me.
I think when it comes to writers,
larger body of work
list isn't really as easy to debate. Art is super subjective, so of course
it is, and also even the most prolific artists are still basically doing one book a month. If it's just you're just not doing as much work,
they're not AI. What do you expect?
No, but what I'm saying, that's why the list I think tends to look a little more like you're like I'm looking at the artist list and I'm like,
what's number 2 after Jack?
Well, I'll give you the top 10. George Perez is 1, then Kirby, then Byrne, Jim Lee, Alex
Fuck
Ross.
this list. No.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
No. Wow. Wait, it gets worse. Neil Adams, John Romita Jr.
Oh my God.
Sienkiewicz, Frank, and then Buscema.
But no. Oh my God.
The actual 11 through 20 is better, dude. Mobius is 17th. Come on, bro.
You stupid list.
You can't have Mobius below John Romita Jr. You can't do it. You just can't do it. It's not. You cannot do it. It's like it should be illegal. This list should have been thrown out. The editor of this should have thrown it out in the trash and been like, "No, we can't do this. This is impossible."
Mobius should be like in the all-time greatest list. Mobius should be like 4, maybe 5.
I mean, he should be certainly higher than 17th. For sure.
And the thing that pisses me off, like, no Corbin? What? Who?
Well, let me see. Corbin's not in the top 50, bro.
It's ridiculous. It's just a stupid, irrelevant list. There's no way.
Your boy Carl Barks is in there for writing and art.
Good.
Yeah. But. Yeah, listen. Again, these lists are fun because they just spark debate. There's no whatever. Yeah. I don't put any weight. I don't particularly think if I were doing lists for these two, like either of these lists, that would be my top 50 would look much different than on both of them. But I have to say I don't really have an issue with the writers like top 10 like overall. Like I think they're all in the hunt. Like maybe I wouldn't have them in the same rankings, but I think the artist list kind of bonkers. Yeah, it's
we really should plumb the depths and come up with someone that legit could possibly maybe challenge Alan Moore as the greatest comic book writer of all time.
I think they'd have to be you'd be further along, dude. No, like what? No, like there's no one. There isn't anyone right now. Like you said,
it's a struggle trying to come up with like.
Here you go. I'll look at this list. I'll read you the people that are currently like still in their primes, meaning they're like under 50. And still putting out comics all the time, okay? And you tell me if you think any of them are within shouting distance. I don't think any of them Okay. Highest on the list there would be I'm excluding Waid because Waid is in his 60s. I'm pretty sure these days, but Hickman.
Why have they got to be under 50?
Because we already agree that none of these people are anywhere close to Mora, so they need another 10 to 20 years minimum of crushingly good
So you're
work.
saying let's find someone who could possibly within the next 20 years produce.
Yeah, because
work.
none of these people are anywhere close to Mora. So it's who.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's fair.
So Hickman, Johns, Brian K. Vaughan, Brubaker. I don't know how old Garth Ennis is, but he's probably a little beyond that. But I'll throw him out there. Warren Ellis, Tom King, Scott Snyder, Jeff Lemire, Jason Aaron, Mark Miller, Kieran Gillen, scrolling, Tom Taylor, Kirkman, Gail Simone, holy shit. Gail Simone, Al Ewing, Rick Remender, Greg Rucka. Those are all the people that are on this list. And again, I'm sure there are other people that I'm saying they're on this list that have, and Zadar, who are young enough that you could say, okay, if they go on another decade-long heater, maybe we could have that conversation. And I don't, honestly, none of them are even, I don't.
Well, I think were he not canceled, Ellis could have a shot at it.
But how old is Warren Ellis,
with another 20 years.
Okay, he's 56. All right, so he's 15 years younger than. Yeah. 15 years is a long time. So okay. I mean, Tat, again, I'm not the
only reason why I say that is because Ellis infuses the work with depth that favorably compares to Alan Moore. There's always something under the surface of an Ellis work.
How many of these people at some point in their careers at their peaks did people think could eventually be in that kind of conversation? Because I would say there was a time when people thought that about Bendis, that he could be an all-timer. No, I'm saying there was a time in his career when people like him or Brian K. Vaughan or Johns or Hickman were a brief moment at their apex where people were like, oh, they, but then I would argue that shine has faded a bit, because also part of it is their approach, for me, I think Brian K. Vaughan is the best writer in comics these days, but he's not prolific. He writes one book. He's more than happy just to write Saga, right? He just writes 8 issues of Saga a year and that's it. So it's that, so that's not enough. So I love Tom King, but Tom is, he's young. He's got to give me more.
He's the king of the miniseries right now.
Yeah, no. I love Tom, and I think he's shown a lot of, but he's essentially. He's not entirely superhero, but for the most part, his accolades and his most acclaimed stuff have all been superhero books, and basically with one publisher. Again, I realize he's had 1 or 2 things outside of there, but so his career would need to continue to evolve and sustain, and again, it's we're talking. It's hard to project 20 years in the future, but I don't know. Did any of those names strike you guys as a legit potential? I don't think so. I don't know. Again, I guess 20 years is a long time, but
Garth Ennis has a rich body of work, but yeah, for the most part,
I would say in terms of what I've seen of them, in terms of their ability, I think Kieran Gillen is capable. He's capable because I've seen him do lots of different genres. But again, I don't know what he's got in store. I don't know. I don't know what he's got to plan next.
I think it's amazing that Moore just removed himself from the arena. I'm done.
Hey, man,
finished.
Respect.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've done it all. I can do no more. See ya. I'm gonna write.
Go out on top, man.
Yep. Long story short, get this Alan Moore book, The Great Man.
For sure,
because it's really good. It's extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
It's transformative. And it's the first of a 5-issue series. Or 5-book series. So you need to get in on the ground floor. It lays down all the groundwork for the mythology that follows. And I'm sure he's going to take it in just weird, strange, unpredictable ways. Get it. Do you have it, Jason?
No, I don't actually.
For shame.
Where'd you order it from, Vince?
I got it through the place that I get my single issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you can get it at Amazon. It's pretty cheap.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure if you got it from there because I really don't. Lately I don't trust their shipping on books.
I have
Packaging.
I did like during Black Friday they were doing an Audible like $1. So I have Audible books that, and I see that The Great One there's an audiobook version.
There is,
Wait,
yeah.
who reads it? Who's the?
Let me look. Let me click on it here. See if it says. Does it say usually?
Oh, I think Renee.
Kobna Holdbrook Smith is the narrator.
You can play a sample. So I mean, no, not now. Obviously.
I don't know who this person is. I'm
See
just telling you that's who's listed as the narrator. I don't.
I'll borrow Renee's login and see if I can hear a sample of it.
This audiobook features an exclusive essay, The True History of What Didn't Happen, which is written and read. So that's cool.
How are you breaking up if you have a new machine?
Didn't know I was.
Yeah, a little bit. It's the drones.
There you go.
It's the drones.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, people, if you want to save and save big on your omnibus editions, your OGNs, your manga, your trade paperback collections, you have a taste for those Marvel Epic collections, but you look at the price and you're like, what? $50 for this thing? Ha! Laugh. You're going to laugh at those prices because that's not what you're going to pay at cheapgraphicnovels.com. They will save you a ton of money. And if you're a first-time customer, remember what I said at the beginning of the episode. You're going to get free shipping on your second order. You cannot do any better than that. Guaranteed. And if you're listening to this on whatever podcast catcher, aggregator, whatever, please leave us a review. If it's as simple as just clicking on a number of stars or you have to actually type something, we would appreciate you leaving us a review because it helps in the grand scheme of things. Last pitch I'm going to make is check out the Patreon page. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. We just released an almost 5-hour audio file of behind the scenes crapola that we've accumulated the past month and change. Just because. And you can get that for like $5 a month. Plus you get a bonus book of the month episode as well. $10 a month gets you all that plus access to the Slack where your world will open up because there's a ton of people there. You get the downloads, you get the camaraderie, you get all that stuff. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. I don't have anything. Oh, Superman 21. I didn't read it, but I looked at it. This is the stupidest in your travels. Wow. I never expected in all my years to read a Superman comic with a cameo appearance from Amethyst, Princess of Gem World. But it works, and she's cute. And the
Armored all to be damned.
Yes. The culmination of the issue, if Clark is thinking twice about handing over Doomsday, why? Why are you thinking about it? Just do it. None of this bullshit that he's a living organism that has blah, 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 blah. It's Doomsday. Hand the motherfucker over and you're done. This thing killed you.
I'll wait till you're done.
All right.
I'll wait till you're done because
this thing killed you. Get rid of it. Squash that bug. But whatever. What are you saying?
No, I'm waiting for you to finish your travels.
I did.
Okay, that's it.
I think. Depending on what you say.
In your travels, Superman 21 by
tag team.
Joshua Williamson and Dan Mora with Alejandro Sanchez on colors. Super Date Night. So it's kind of we're trying to have a nice fun issue here in the midst of Doomsday's ultimatum and Time Trapper's ultimatum to Cal. But
pause 1 second. The way Dan Mora draws Lois.
Seriously, dude.
I want to lick her.
Exactly.
I want to lick her inseam.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Relax.
Dude, she's so freaking hot. It's ridiculous. Carry on.
Absolutely.
Carry on.
You're not wrong. And I mean, in the outfit, the
yes,
outfit looks great on her.
With the Gap. It's the Gap. My God. That's it. Super Gap. She got the Super Gap going on.
That's Vince's Kennedy's.
I'm sorry.
What I enjoyed is that, Clark is just trying to have a date night, have fun with his wife. What I enjoyed about this issue a lot, not one, not two, but 3 interludes. Yeah. One with Jimmy Olsen, because he is half of Metropolis's It couple.
How did he get so lucky?
Dude, and it's the red hair, I guess, the freckles.
I'm thinking it's more than the red hair.
It's close.
Yeah.
But there's no dialogue on this page, but I appreciate the change in expressions between the 2 characters as they're watching TV sitting on the couch. She's adorable.
Stop.
The second interlude is what does Doomsday dream about, which is nothing fun and nothing happy. The third, which is a nice little will they won't they moonlighting kind of thing. And yes, Mercy is extremely attractive as well.
Yes.
Lex and Mercy are sort of kind of sharing a coffee, and it's a nice, it's a neat little moment with Lex, because of course he's suffering from the loss of memory, and Mercy, of course, is just kind of run ragged trying to, because of work and everything she's dealing with. So that was a true interlude, and it was great. But the end of the date night is stopping off for a breakfast burrito in Smallville, and this is absolutely a conversation that I would have with my significant other, where he was like, we maybe you should stop by my parents since we're in town. And she's like, yeah, I love you, brother, but and I love your parents, but that's not the way I would want to end a date. Is spending time with my in-laws. But you get a
rude
when the aftermath appears and makes their demands and telling Superman to hand over Doomsday. I'm of a couple of minds on this. Yes, you're absolutely right, Vince. This destroyer killed you. Get rid of it. However, Superman being Superman and Supercorp being Supercorp, they're trying to do what they can to maybe excise the demon from the monster. But I'm thinking that there's no guarantee, because if Doomsday destroyed all these planets and all these worlds, and these are the survivors, what guarantee do we have that Superman hands Doomsday over to these people and Doomsday doesn't break free, or they don't end up killing him, or he kills them and then he's just back on Earth after Superman, and it's lather, rinse, repeat. So this was the cliffhanger, and we'll see where it goes. And again, I realize this is another issue that just came out, but so apologies for spoilers. But it's a situation where, as of right now, at the end of this issue, obviously Superman hasn't made a decision, but I can definitely see what would give him pause, and Superman just handing over another being to be terminated. Obviously, it's not in his makeup, but my thinking is, you don't know what would happen once you hand Doomsday over to them. You're just you're freeing him. I mean, there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to
but you do know what's going to happen if Doomsday stays on planet Earth. destruction.
Well, now we got Justice
death.
League Unlimited to take care of these guys.
Okay, they couldn't do it the last time.
I know, Dr. Occult though. But this was a fun issue.
It was.
It had its moments where we got to smile and chuckle, and then we got some heavier moments. It's been a fantastic run. These few issues with Mora on board. I
think it's extremely cute that the speaker for the Aftermath dressed up in the old Doomsday goofy goggles.
Yes.
And aren't you cute? You're dressing like the thing that destroyed your world. That's great.
Which could also give him pause. It's like, do you really want to kill him or do you want to worship him? But
I don't know.
I know. But
get that bitch off planet. I love Doomsday, but if I was in Superman's position, I'd be like, take that motherfucker. See, I don't care what you do with him. If he kills you, at least gives us some time to find a way, ask Bruce. He's got a contingency plan for everything. How do we get rid of Doomsday? Boom tube. Just keep spitting him across the galaxy. No, make him somebody else's problem. I mean, what else do you do? How do you beat Doomsday? You don't.
You don't. You let him kill you again. I do enjoy it because they did it early on in this run, and they did it again in the middle of the page where Lois and Clark are having a moment together, and they're talking about she's mentioning he killed you, and for a long time whenever I would close my eyes, this is what I see. And again, Mora does it in that old 90s comic book style with the sound effects and the colors, and it just it pops compared to everything else on the page. But the first time in recent memory that, or maybe the first time that I can recall, period, Superman is talking about how he's worried about a future and what forever means, and Lois is like, well, nothing is forever, and he's like, this is the first time I think I've heard him say, but maybe I am. Maybe I'm immortal, and no matter what happens, I'll have to just continue to watch everyone I love and care about just die.
Well, no kidding, right? I mean, he's got to think that. He has to realize that everybody that he loves, he's going to see them die.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, for whatever reason. I mean, I'm not saying he may be able to live forever, but he obviously is he can withstand a hell of a lot more than everybody else on the planet. And whether that's one thing he may think, but to actually say it out loud or to read it on a page,
right?
That just had me stand back for a second. But
did he not read Superman at Earth's End? Like, dude, that's you. That's you.
Were you busy that day? This is it's still, listen, it's Superman 21 in your travels, or I'm sorry, Legacy number 864. But yeah, absolutely in your travels. Continue to check out Superman.
I don't know what kind of mojo Morris plugged into, but dude, I hope he stays there for a long time.
Oh my goodness, fast.
His wife is probably like, if he's married, you want to go to the Applebee's because they got the special on the apps. And he's like, nope, I got to do another issue of Superman. And Justice League Unlimited, like, what?
If Dan Mora has as good a taste in food as he does his art skills, he's never going to Applebee's. But
that's true.
Come on,
big facts.
Don't be bougie. Maybe he
Applebee's
likes the Applebee's.
Trash, dude.
I agree, but maybe he just enjoys a fast, little.
I mean, he's not of this country, is he? He's not. I thought he.
All right, maybe he's going to cheat.
Anywho, in your travels, I am going to shock the world because I am here not to decry, but to praise a Dynamite comic. Dynamite, Vince.
Got to be Space Ghost.
Oh, Zootopia finally came out?
It's either Space Ghost or DuckTales.
No, I know what it is because I'm not current on it, but I saw his list.
Yes, no, it's neither of those. It's actually Johnny Quest.
Yep.
Oh, stop! You haven't even read it.
I'm not a fan.
Oh, he
poo-pooed on the first issue.
But are you not a fan of the OG stuff, or
I don't like the OG stuff. No.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now Cliff weeps.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is written by Joe Casey, and art by Sebastian. I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right. Piriz. It's Piriz. Never heard of this gentleman until this series, but The 5th issue just came out. It's the end of the first arc, and I think it's an absolute delight. I think it is so well done. Joe Casey has been hit or miss for me over the years. He's done some incredibly awesome comics and some head scratchers to me. I think he's zeroed in. He's locked in on this one. The premise is that the Jonny Quest crew gets shifted into time, into the far future, aka 2024. And there is an old and busted... no, he's not busted, actually. He's old, but not... Jonny, who is in 2024 and kind of guides them through... while they're there, they have a big adventure / battle with good old Dr. Zinn. They meet all of their modern-day counterparts who are all old and not busted. I think the art's banging, absolute banging art. Like, I don't know where this Puri's guy was, but hopefully he's here to stay. I think the art is exceptionally better than what people might think of that is typical in the Dynamite book. And I just think it's been great. It's been super fun. I'm kind of shocked that Vince doesn't like Jonny Quest because it's like pure camp, but pure pulp. But really enjoyed this first arc, and I will keep coming back as long as this team stays together. And just apropos of nothing, but only because I noticed it when I was pulling up the information for the Senior Travels on the Dynamite site. Jay Lee's Vampirella covers are to die for.
They are.
I know you're not loving the comic itself, and I don't profess to be much of a
Vampirella the covers are great. The holiday special is amazing.
Oh my god, the holiday special is incredible. That cover is incredible. So anyway, but
they open the cover,
Quest, man, it's a lot of
fun. But you're right. Yeah. The cover's great.
So check it out. I think it's a blast. Don't listen to Vince.
Don't listen to me. I'm not even reading it.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Gives me hope for Herculoids, honestly.
Now that I'm going to check out, because I do love the Herculoids.
Yeah.
Marty used to do the sound of one of them. He used to do it really well. Right. But you got that?
Talents.
No, you're number 3. So that's it. That's all you're in your travels. We're done. Hey, everybody, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope you come back next time because we'll be here talking about the comics. And do yourself a favor. Get yourself to a real brick-and-mortar comic shop or an online comic shop, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Buy some comics. Read them. Find something within them you want to talk about. Go online. Talk to people, like-minded individuals about the comics. Enrich your life with something that matters. Talk about art. And then come back here and see if we're talking about them. Chances are very good we will. So in the meantime, say goodnight. No sound bites this time, unless Jason steps in.
I don't have the soundboard. I think on the Chromebook doesn't allow the soundboard.
Nice. Thank you, Chromebook. No buzzers. David.
Happy New Year while we're waiting for David to
true.
Everybody have a happy New Year. Thank you all once again for the support this year. We will be back in 2025 whether you want us to or not. So another year in the books, boys.
We'll be back for a while. At least until
episode 1000.
Right.
Then we're out.
Then all bets are off.
Thank you.
Agreed.
You're welcome. 1,000's a nice round number.
It really would be. Talking about going out on top, it'd be nice to just wrap it all up there.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's wrap it up.
Yep. I was thinking.
What would you do on Wednesday night?
Oh, I could think of a lot of things.
Well, what did I do?
I was thinking about the live recording of episode 1000. Are we gonna? Is there a way to say this panel or this whatever is restricted to 18 and above? Like, are we gonna have to rein it in based on the attendees? Like, what if there's a bunch of kids in it? Like, I'm not gonna, talk about Lois's 3-finger gap with kids in attendance.
I presume you can make a panel age appropriate. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
The bigger discussion is if we do get a panel room, which is not secured yet. We're told us to come back after they open up those things.
You said you were going to get it.
Yes, but we reached out. I think DAP reached out actually.
Yes.
And they said,
and homeboy was like, yeah, come back in May.
You're so cute. Come back.
But the point is the bigger question is, since it's episode 1000, at most we would have the room for an hour. So what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, walk the dealer's room or something. I don't know. We'll find something.
No, but he's talking about the length of the episode.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Yeah, we do what we got to do. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
We'd
have the rest of the weekend to record stuff.
Right.
We'd record stuff in the room.
Yeah, that's true.
Invite people over.
But the live episode, in as much as that's going to be an hour,
right?
Most likely.
When have we ever recorded for an hour? That's like.
Well, we tried that.
A little past
experiment.
Yeah, a little past.
But we can, like you said, we can make it like the hour will be a part of it. But we can also do some smaller panel discussions with the crew, with the peeps, patron. There's things we can do to fill it all out, make it a robust experience for the non-live listeners.
Yes,
we'll see. We'll make it happen. And thank you for making this happen. And tell them how much you love them.
So
much. Merry New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Today's the start of Hanukkah, I believe. So happy Hanukkah to everybody out there. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
That's it for that one.